here with Mr. Fred Cronan, one of my good carving buddies. He just got done carving out a piece of wood for me. And you hail from North Georgia like I do. And he carves, he's one of the best duck carvers I believe I've ever seen outside of your mentor, I believe, Mr. Ed. And well, what kind of wood is that, Fred, that you carved that duck out of? And how long would it take you to do something like that?
This is a canvas back I did a couple years back. Everything's out of basswood. The head and the body, it's all two pieces. The head's carved separate than the body, but it's attached to it. And I don't hollow my birds out because I don't hunt over my birds. I do what I call realistic birds, and
they look like it too.
They're painted in acrylic. This particular bird, I spent the biggest part of a year. Of course, I just carve in the afternoon and on the weekends as I have time, as I'm still working. But I try to put as much life into the bird as I possibly can. I had a very dear friend that just passed away this last year. He was 98 years old when he passed, and he introduced me to carving about 30 years ago. And he carved beautiful birds and ducks, and I always admired his stuff and asked him if he would teach me how to carve birds and ducks. And he took me under his arm, and we did a couple of ducks together. And he always was inspirational, no matter how bad that I go back and look at some of my first carvings now, no matter how bad they were, he always was very inspirational in telling me how good everything looks and what I would do different or whatever. And I always took his advice. And as the years went along, his name, by the way, was Mr. Ed Edmondson. Very dear man. But as years went by, Mr. Ed and I would go to different shows and different events, especially stuff to do with Boy Scouts. He and I both were involved real heavy in Boy Scouts, and we taught at the National Jamborees together. But in his later years in life, he would tell everybody that I was his student, but his student had become a better carver than him. And I always took that as a very good compliment. But I really owe all of my carving ability to my mentor. And my advice to any carver would be that if you have a young person that shows interest in wood carving, take the time to mentor that young person. We all know that we're losing the art of wood carving. Kids today, there's not many that take time to be interested in wood carving because we live in such an instant gratification world, and you know this is not something you can just do in an hour or two. This is something that takes time. So if you got a young person, whether it be young man or young lady, take the time to mentor that person and really pique that interest in them. I owe all of my abilities to men that have crossed my life that have took time to give me some tips, show me stuff along the way, and I try to pass that along to help any young person that I can. But I've enjoyed wood carving for about 30 years now. Like I said, I always, as a kid, like everybody else, sat around and carved sticks and that sort of stuff, and I always had the desire to be able to carve. But really, my running across Mr. Ed at a Boy Scout function really got me started in wood carving, and I'll forever be ever be thankful for him and what he's meant to me in my life, and I encourage you to do that as well. Thanks for looking at my duck. This particular duck, like I said, I usually date them on the bottom, and this particular duck I kept up with the hours on it, and from the day I cut it out to finished it, I logged 231 hours in this duck, and of course that's from cutting it out to painting it to putting it on Mama's shelf upstairs. And I don't know if you can tell from the video, but every one of these feathers they have the barbs on them. They have the details in the feathers, the splits in the feathers. I really tried to do this duck justice by the workmanship that I put into it, and I'm proud of this duck.
Well, thank you, Mr. Fred, very, very much.
Thank you for looking.